first of all, let me thank War India, Dr. Deepak Sahu, for giving me this opportunity amongst so many veterans in the industry to really kickstart this conference and set the stage. We have, I'm really humbled. We have such experience actually in this room. Can we have a bit of interaction in the room? How many years of experience do you have? Just throw a number. How many years of experience do you have? 35. 25, 40, 1944, 30 years of experience. Guys, somebody at the back? Wow, 53. Imagine, yeah. This room has about 100 people right now. Maybe it's going to be about 200, 300 people over the day. Let's do a bit of maths. On an average, even for simplicity's sake, if we take 20 years of experience, 200 people is 4,000 years of experience. 6,000 years of experience with 300 people. Who am I to tell you something? Thank you so much. So this is going to be amazing, really. I'm coming with a lot of humility actually in this room, really to learn from all of you. And that's really the power of connections, right? You know, about 25 years back, during the most important event of my life, which was my wedding, I was sitting just like this, basically, along with my to-be wife. And there were people who were actually coming in with questions, with comments. Somebody asking me, where are you going for honeymoon? Somebody asking me, what did you see in this? Asking my wife, what did you see in this guy? All kinds of questions and comments and all the stuff, right? And these questions, I'm sure all of you actually connected with each other before settling down here, right? You shook hands with somebody, you connected with each other, you asked some question. But there was one person at that point in time, just 15 minutes before the ceremony, and he came to me. He was not asking any questions. One of my best friends, Deva was his name, and he came to me and he gave me a pat at the back, and he asked me one question which changed my life. And the question was, Puneet, are you present? I said, what? He said, are you present for your wedding? Because I see you lost. If you're not present for the wedding, you will lose this opportunity. And I was like, wow, man, yes. I could have been all over the place walking around and not being present for my own event. And this is what I would really urge you all to be present for this event. Really connect with each other and really take something back which is really valuable for us. Deepak actually talked about a whole lot of indicators. We see this, we hear this every day, and experienced people like you know what's going on in the industry. Whether you look at, and sorry about this cluttered slide, this is a cut and paste of a whole lot of indicators actually in the market today. You look at our GDP, you look at how the economy is growing. It has taken us 60 years to reach to a GDP of 1 trillion till 2007. Today we are close to about 4 trillion. In the next 7 years time or 6 years time, we're going to be basically 7 trillion. 500 billion GDP added to the economy every year. This is the kind of GDP for a whole lot of countries. You know, we have seen different, all of you are so experienced, you've seen different phases of internet, right? You've seen a democratic internet in the US, you've seen a silo-based internet in China, you've seen a mix of that in Europe. In India, we have operated at population scale, right? 12 billion transactions ended on UPI till December. This is 12.83 lakh crores of transactions. IT spending, Dr. Deepak talked about this. IT spending is increasing, was about what, 200 billion US? Last year was 245 billion US. Next 5 years is going to be 500 billion US. We cannot even imagine how this business, how this country will impact our business. If you're in the IT business, and let me exaggerate a bit, if you do nothing, you will still grow, right? You look at startups. I was looking at some of the indicators for about 114 startups in the country who have become unicorn. It took us 26 years to get to a unicorn status, 1 billion investment. You know, till last year, it's taken less than 1 year now. The rate of innovation of technology, the rate of pace of growth is amazing, right? But we need to look internally and strategize ourselves. You look at public sector, you look at government sector, SMBs, SMEs, micro, enterprise, everything has a very, very positive outlook. Why am I telling you this? What do we do with this? The thing is, how do we look at these indicators and say, how do we exponentially grow? But before we actually start thinking about our strategies, we need to start look at how do we define ourselves? Who are we? Every organization has a narrative. Every organization has a what they do, why they do, where they do it, and how they do it. The 3 W's and an H. And if you don't have that, I would really urge you to sit down with some senior people in your team, do a bit of brainstorming on these questions, on the 3 W's and H, and you will come back with something really, really powerful which you need to believe. Once you start believing that, it will happen. Nike stands for not shoes, determination. Coca-Cola stands for not drinks, happiness. Procter & Gamble stands for families, for mothers. GE stands for teamwork. What does our own organization stand for? What does your own organization stand for? We are not an IT reseller or a system integrator or something. The why has to be there in our narrative. I'm not here to hard sell anything on Redington. We are a part of the ecosystem. I assume that a lot of people know us. Being a distributor, we've gone through this journey of being a traditional distributor to a value-added distributor in the last few years, distribution as a service, where the objective has been really to work with our partners to help them grow. How do we effectively reach out and scale, our business along with our partners? And just think about it, then get into the shoes of a distributor. How do you exponentially grow? How do you exponentially grow? You can't grow by just growing the business or share of wallet from a whole lot of channel partners like this. You have to make your channel partners grow, right? And that's something which we have internalized. And if you look at all the assets which we bring today, whether it's compliance related, whether it's the e-com portals we have, whether it's the knowledge base, whether it's the experience centers, whether it's 60,000 channel partners, 450 brands, and the reach which we have, it can be summed up in this simple graph. Okay, so this is our narrative. This is why we are here. The what, where, why, and how is answered with this question. We all know that the rate of innovation of technology is really going very, very high, like a jockey stick, right? But we're not able to catch up. The rate of adoption of technology is like a linear curve. What happens over a period of time is this gap keeps increasing, right? So we have named this technology friction. So what we do is basically we reduce technology friction. We reduce technology friction, which is the barrier that delays the adoption of technology, through innovation, technology, and partnerships for the growth of our partners, our channel partners, our financial partners, our OEM partners in emerging geographies, right? So it's important to really define what our narrative is, because that becomes a starting point for everything. When we meet up with the channel partners, they say, fine, but how do we really get exponential growth? Everybody talks about the growth which is happening in India, but we are still growing 15%, 20%, right? What is exponential growth? If you take 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, 4 step, and so on till 30 steps, and every step is 1 year, how many years am I talking about? 30 years. But if you take an exponential step, which basically means 2 to the power of 1, 2 to the power of 2, 2 to the power of 3. In 30 years, how much will that be? 2 to the power of 30, which is 1 billion. Okay. When we used to actually do these product forecasts, our business forecasts for the next 3 to 5 years, we started looking at the last 3 to 5 years. Those days are gone. We need to start looking at our strategies. Yesterday I was in Mahabalipuram in one of the conferences for channel partners. And one of the channel partners who's had the highest exponential growth, he stood up and he said, the fact that, we are at this level is because we could not see our targets. When we started discussing at the start of the year, you guys came us and said, do X amount of $1 million. And we said, यार वो तो दिखता ही नहीं है, वो तो बहुत दूर है, blur तो दिखे, वो तो दिख ही नहीं रहा. But they managed to do it. Right? So we need to start looking at our business and say, how can we actually get to the exponential level? And everybody comes and says, हमारे customer हैं कहाँ पर? इतने ही customer हैं हमारे तो. So how do we get our customers? So I'm going to share with you a few slides, not really in depth, very high level, but the idea is really to connect during the day. But whenever you look at scale, you look at a normal distribution. And from a marketing perspective, everything can be divided into this normal distribution curve. Let me give you an example. How many of you bought your phones within 1 month of the launch of the phone? Please raise your hands. And please see around the room. This is less than 1/3 of the audience. How many of you bought your phones after 2 years of the launch of the phone? Please raise your hands. Again, 1/3 of the audience. How many of you bought your phones from 1 month to 2 years of the launch of the phone? Please raise your hands. And this is the critical mass. So it's a normal distribution curve. How many of you have a height of less than 5.4? 3, 4, 5? How many of you have a height of more than 5'11"? 3, 4, 5? How many of you have a height of 5.4 to 5'11"? That's the critical mass, right? So everything can be divided into this normal distribution. The interesting bit is that in this normal distribution curve, on one hand you have innovators, on the second hand you have laggards. If there is one slide I want to talk about on what we do in marketing, what everybody is supposed to do in marketing, is this slide. We take our larger customers, our successful customers, and we tell their story to innovators, taking out the laggards. Laggards are the ones basically who will still have a VCR at home. They will wait for everything to finish, for people to be successful. By that time, it's going to be very late, right? So the three things basically, things which are important today. How many of you get a phone call saying, can you buy insurance, can you buy a house, can you buy a car, and so on and so forth? All of us do, right? How many of you entertain these people? Nobody does. You never say, आप ही की wait कर रहा था, बस लेनी थी वो गाड़ी, but I was just waiting for a phone call. You never say that, right? Because mass marketing, targeting is dead, right? So, and this is important for us to understand that what are we really trying to do as organizations? We are trying to create an identity for people. We're trying to transform people. We're trying to make people loyal to our organization. So some of them basically stand up and say, yes, I recommend this organization. And that creates a virality, right? That creates a culture. So this cultural transformation is what marketing is today, is really what is creating value for your customers, and that's what creates magic. The three things basically which I want to touch upon are having the right message, having the right to the right person at the right time, and this is where Redington can partner with you to really help you scale the business. This guy is Rob Walker. Rob Walker was basically a journalist in US, and he was a very emotional guy. He had a coffee mug and it broke, and he became very sad. He said, यार coffee mug के टूटने से कौन इतना परेशान होता है? Am I the only one, or are there other people as well? So he went to eBay and he started buying some products. These are some of the products which he bought. And he bought a horse, a yo-yo, a ball, all these small products. Every product was less than $1. So he said, okay, fine, let me associate this to a story. So he went out to the market and he asked writers to write a story basically for everyone, each of these products. And he published a book which was called, I'll just take 5 minutes more. He published a book which was called Significant Objects. So once he published the book, he went to eBay again and started selling these products. Can you imagine products which he had bought for $100, he sold at what price? $8,990. So he came back with this conclusion that the more emotionally invested people are, the less critically objective they become, right? So if you get associated emotionally to somebody, you become less critical. And the interesting bit is that, we did an analysis on a whole lot of advertisements, and we realized that there are three kinds of emotions which you can connect to people. Oxytocin, where you really make people very emotional. You do that in a very commoditized, highly commoditized market, right? Dopamine, which inspires people, like architects get inspired by seeing other architects, right? So you do that in a market where you want the person to come back, like a James Bond movie, right? Come back and buy that watch, come back and say, hey, I am also going to make that kind of a building, right? And then there is this, you would have seen that there are people in your organizations who laugh a lot, right? They have a lot of endorphins in them. When do you want people to laugh? When you want a behavior which says, chal yaar karte hain, like a holy function and there's a QR code and you want to print some photographs and stuff like that. It's not the need, but yeah, let's go ahead and do that. We have a whole lot of campaigns which we have done along with these emotions. For the sake of time, I'm not going to show that. I would urge you that insights are very critical for us to help you grow your business, okay? And there are a whole lot of things. There's a partner advisory board, there is an echo program, there is a net promoter percentage. You get a lot of surveys basically from our side. Please do take that seriously. Every word in that counts for us, and we take actions basis some of those inputs which you have. The other part which we would like to partner with you is data. Data structuring is very important. First party data is what we have, what you have. Second party needs to be very secure, what we get from our vendors, what we get from different parties. Third party comes in the form of cookies and IP addresses, and we have systems internally where we can reach out to your customers through these third party data. We have a pretty complex tech stack. Please take advantage of that. The other thing is the demand gen center. So when we look at something, some campaigns or events or anything, basically, everything needs to boil down to a journey which ends in our demand gen center in Chennai. We have hundreds of people sitting out there who can be a great help for our channel partners to help you grow your business. Again, this is not just about doing an event and finishing that, or doing a campaign and finishing that. It's a journey basically which ends at customer satisfaction. The last thing basically I want to say is that nothing is more precious than a customer satisfaction. Okay, I was in Singapore and I used to travel to Palo Alto in my previous job every quarter, and I used to change 2 flights, one to Europe and then Europe to Palo Alto. And in Singapore Airlines, after you finish dinner or lunch, the air hostess will come and give you chocolates. And the way she gives it is amazing, yeah. I mean, she'll come to you and she'll say, hey, Mr. Lim, how are you today? Are you planning to read something? You want to sharpen your mind? Here's an almond chocolate for you. You want to have take some rest? Here's a coconut chocolate, and will make you feel relaxed and all stuff. It's a very different style of service, right? How many chocolates I had at that point in time? 6 chocolates, right? Because it was consultative and it was educative. And the moment you actually change flights, there's another air hostess comes in. She has the same box of chocolates, and she would come back and say the same thing. Chocolates, 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 chocolates. How many would you want to have? 0. Because this style of working with the customers is very production oriented, very directive. It's important to understand that there is no algorithm for customer satisfaction. Customer satisfaction is something which you all know. It's your own business. It's just something that we all need to be very sensitive about, because nothing can beat this. Is priceless. There are a whole lot of programs basically which we have. Take leverage of these programs, whether it is Mission 300 digital to digitally transform 300 towns and cities of the countries, whether it is partner forums, whether it is digital marketing, whether it is our tech stack, whether it is our data. We have a whole lot of things which is compiled for you so that you can focus on your own business, and these can help you scale exponentially. And this is my last slide basically. There are two kinds of games. Games which have rules, games where people win or lose, and these are basically traditional games like cricket, football, volleyball. But then there are these games which do not have rules, which do not make anybody win or lose, which is called infinite games. Games like juggling, games like playing catch with your 5-year-old son or daughter. You don't want to throw the ball so hard, so you throw it and your child cannot throw it back again. We are here in this room to play infinite games. We want to throw the ball at you so you can throw it at your customers, your customers can throw it at your vendors, they can throw it back to us. What we are trying to do is weave a community together, a strong community of VAR India together. I would leave you with this message, and all I would say is let's connect. Thank you for your patience. You've been a wonderful audience. Thank you so much.